Hey everyone! If you're new here and you've never seen this channel before in your entire life, click right here and subscribe. But also, if you're new here and you've never seen this channel before, you might want to go back and watch some of my 5-day challenge episodes before you watch this recap video. For those of you that have been following along with Try Living with Lucie, I figured we have a new year on the horizon. 2019 is almost here. So I figured I'd take some time to look back at some of my favorite episodes from 2018 and give you all some updates. One of the most frequent questions I get asked is, after trying all of these lifestyle challenges, what are you still doing? People always want to know, months later after I tried 5 days of organization, is my apartment still clean? After 5 days of indoor gardening, are my plants still alive? Am I now officially a morning person after 5 days of becoming a morning person? I get tons of Instagram DMs asking me this almost every day. So I figured I'd bundle it all into one beautifully packaged video and give it to you for Christmas. Enjoy. So first stop is the first video of 2018, 5 days of meal prep. Way back in January 2018, I did 5 days of meal prepping where I spent one entire Sunday prepping my breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the 5-day work week. So do I still meal prep? And the answer is not for 5 days worth of food. After filming this episode, I realized that not only was the food towards the end of the week kind of soggy and a little wilted for my taste, but it also felt a little bit monotonous to eat the same thing every single day, and personally, my taste buds crave diversity. My schedule at Refinery29 is way less predictable than a typical 9-to-5 office job. So since I'm on set shooting videos about 2 to 3 days a week, I'm never quite sure where I'm gonna be for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And also, many of my meals are eaten with the crew on set, so bringing my own meals sometimes is not always feasible and can be a little bit rude to the others. All of this being said, the 5 days of meal prep episode did help me start to feel a little bit more comfortable in the kitchen.
I feel like I'm unchopped. How do we want to cook the chicken?
How's my rice doing? Ah! And I've also made Alyssa Gagarin's chocolate chip peanut butter chickpea bars about 5 or 6 more times in 2018 because they are so good. All right, on to the next episode. To be totally honest with you all, there have only been a few episodes of Try Living with Lucie to date that have deeply affected my life. To name a few, 5 days of yoga. I now practice yoga 2 to 3 times a week. 5 days of Ayurveda. I've studied this topic extensively and it's now become a major part of my lifestyle. And also 5 days of zero waste, which has affected how I live my life both inside and outside of my apartment. And one other episode that has really stuck with me and added a major new hobby into my life was 5 days of calligraphy and hand lettering. My first bullet journaling episode in 2017 inspired me to start a bullet journal of my own. And once I began my 2018 bullet journal, my hand lettering and calligraphy skills were put to good use. I've shared most of what's in my 2018 bullet journal on YouTube this year, including a holiday spread which should be on my personal YouTube channel this month. And you'll probably notice that compared to my first ever video on hand lettering, my skills have improved drastically in the past year. And it's all about practicing and getting the strokes down and starting to memorize how certain letters look when you connect them. So certain letters like R's and S's were way more difficult for me in the past, and now I'm a lot better at them. I love that when you type in Lucie Fink bullet journal to YouTube, you get a selection of bright and colorful videos that pop up. And I think if you add up the views on all of those videos, it's approaching about 2 million views. It just makes me so happy to see that a skill that I genuinely love doing is being enjoyed by so many people out there. Let's keep this moving on to the next episode topic, 5 days of self-care. As I mentioned in that episode, self-care has become a $400 billion industry. And as more wellness bloggers and influencers have begun supporting this industry, it's becoming easier and easier for consumers out there to think that self-care is about buying candles and crystals and taking bubble baths. And I'm just gonna come out and say it, I'm as guilty as anyone. I have definitely tied a ton of my Instagram partnerships to self-care. But it's important to know that even though candles and crystals and baths are amazing, there's so much more to self-care than those tangible things. I made that first episode on self-care back in March 2018 after I had a pretty rocky January that was just filled with stress. And honestly, as the year has progressed and as my job has gotten crazier and simultaneously my social media channels have grown, I realized that my stress isn't going anywhere. As I grow and develop and my career path continues to weave and wind, I know that the best thing that I can do for myself is to stay grounded. I'm the only one that's in charge of my health and my happiness, and as I've come to terms with this, I've ramped up my self-care. 2018 has seriously been my healthiest, happiest, and most mindful year yet. I've started including meditation in my life regularly, often going to meditation classes in New York City or just listening to YouTube meditations at home. I've begun listening to tons of podcasts about health and self-care at any opportunity I get. I've been practicing weekly yoga with my twin sister, and I continue to watercolor and bullet journal as another form of de-stressing. All right, for the next episode recap, I'm gonna mix 2 episodes in one because they're so closely related. 5 days of spring cleaning and 5 days of organization. When I shot both of these episodes, I realized just how true the saying is that outer order creates inner calm. Cleaning has surprisingly become something that I actually enjoy doing as an adult. And I say surprisingly because in my family, I've always been the messy kid. My twin sister is a total neat freak, my older brother is really organized, and my room used to be littered with clothes and toys. And now I've realized just how nice it feels to have things organized, clean, decluttered, and also how great it feels to donate and to just have fewer things. I've continued to make my bed every morning. It's become habitual for me. And I actually have an entirely new system that I use for washing dishes, and believe it or not, it has become fun to wash dishes. I basically put on rubber gloves so my hands don't get all pruny, and I start by batch soaping everything. So once everything is all soaped up and cleaned, then I batch rinse everything. This saves water, so I'm not running the water as I scrub, and it also makes the process go by a lot faster. As for the way I organized my entire apartment in 5 days of organization, honestly, I've kept things pretty neat. My bathroom cabinets have maybe gotten a little bit more cluttered as I've added a couple of new products to the shelves here and there, and my closets and drawers of clothes haven't stayed quite as neat as they were when Hoarderly came over and taught me how to fold. T-shirts are still pretty good. This is the file fold they taught me. I definitely do need to refold some of those drawers. I've had a lot of people asking me for more cleaning and organizing episodes. Many people have even asked to see a clean with me video. You know, those 20-minute long videos on YouTube where I just roll and play a time lapse of me cleaning something. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in watching, comment below and let me know. And now on to the next 5 days of different styles. This was one of my favorite episodes this year because that week proved to me just how much your style can affect your confidence and the energy that you exude. And actually, since filming that one, I do feel like I've started to express my personality a bit more through fashion. Growing up, I never really felt like I had a specific sense of fashion. In fact, I felt like I had no fashion sense because I found myself constantly mixing colors and patterns that other people told me did not work well together. But there have been a few instances since this episode that I've found myself picking out outfits that really correlate to my personality. For example, I had an engagement party last month and I found myself pulling together this really unique outfit. It was these velvet blush pants with a white turtleneck bodysuit, and then on top of everything was this gold sequin sparkly dress. I knew that I wanted the outfit to be unique and different and almost a little fairy tale-esque, and I think the outfit I chose really captured my personality. Above all, I feel like I'm starting to veer away from wearing things that are considered universally stylish and more towards putting things together that I actually love or that capture a specific vibe that I'm going for. And from some of the responses I've been getting on Instagram, it's becoming increasingly clear to me that it's really not about what you wear, but it's about your confidence and how you rock it. Up next, 5 days of indoor gardening. In this episode, I worked with my friend Maria Fiella from the Bloom and Grow Radio podcast to completely transform my space and add 26 plants and a pet fish, Buttercup, into my house. I've had tons of people asking me how Buttercup's doing, and I know I shared this update on Instagram, but I'll share it here too. I actually gifted Buttercup to a family friend. She's a 12-year-old girl who desperately wanted a fish, and I realized that she would be a way better fish mom than I was gonna be because my travel schedule is crazy. A couple of my windowsill plants are doing better than others. So the snake plant is thriving, it grew a few more sprouts, and it's pretty tall. The sago palm looks good. The parlor palm is not doing so hot. I'm not sure how to revive this one. And the money tree looks okay, but the leaves are starting to get some holes in them. Since the episode, I've also added 2 new plants to that windowsill. My kitchen herb garden is looking great too, so I've switched to using an herb garden from a company called Click and Grow. They come in pods and it's super easy to maintain. First I was growing basil, and then once I harvested all that basil, I switched it to peppermint, and I use the herbs all the time to make tea. My lime tree is thriving. He's grown so many more leaves since the episode, and I've continued to water him about every 3 days or so. I even got a cute new ceramic watering can that I love. I just love seeing all the greenery around here, and I've inspired many of my friends to start getting plants for their homes too. Also, since the episode, I've named each of my plant babies. The windowsill plants are all names from The Office. So Dwight Schrute is my snake plant, Kevin Malone is my money tree, then there's Phyllis and Toby, who's not looking so hot. The 2 newer plants are Jim and Pam, and I did originally have 6 air plants, and they were Andy, Aaron, Kelly, Ryan, Angela, and Oscar, but all of them, except for Oscar, have died. My lime tree is Michael Scott, and then in my bedroom I have 3 succulents, and those are the Mean Girls, Gretchen, Karen, and Regina George. Next episode, 5 days of becoming a morning person. There was a time earlier this year when all I freaking wanted was to become a morning person.
The thing you want to do is most definitely wake up early.
Why do I want to do that?
Because you want to be a morning person?
Do I ever stop talking about it?
Never. I'm really sick of it.
I felt like morning people were more productive and more successful, and I was so inspired by people who woke up early and accomplished half of their to-do list before the sun even came up. To be totally honest with you all, interests and goals change, and I'm not really all that inspired to do this anymore. I've even come across some studies that say what's best for your body is just what your body naturally does. So if you don't get tired until later in the night and you can actually sleep until later in the morning, then that might actually be what makes you the most productive. The one aspect of this video that I have attempted to carry forward is setting that 8 p.m. stop time for myself when it comes to being on my phone and my computer. This was also the episode where I started following Deepak Chopra's 21-day meditation challenge on YouTube. So I just wanted to show you how pretty the final tracker looks now that it's all filled out. And I also wanted to let you know how great that 21-day challenge was. I had never stuck to meditating 21 days in a row before that, and I really got into a good groove. Second to last video recap, Ayurveda. I'll just come out and say it, this was my favorite episode of Try Living with Lucie ever, in the history of Try Living with Lucie. And based on the YouTube comments, it seems like a lot of you felt the same way. This episode took so much research and so much preparation before I even started filming. Putting the episode together and sharing what I had learned with all of you, that was the easy part. So how has Ayurveda continued to influence my life? Well, firstly, I'm still listening to the Highest Self podcast. I got myself a rice cooker and I've started making khichdi for dinner every so often. Khichdi is a mixture of yellow mung dal beans, basmati rice, ghee, and digestive spices, and it's considered a very cleansing and detoxifying food in Ayurveda. Let's see, what else? I scrape my tongue with my tongue scraper every morning. Knowing that I'm a Vata, I've started scaling back on most of the cooling foods in my life, and I've begun adding tons of warming, grounding foods to my diet. I've also started practicing Abhyanga or self-oil massage after showers, and I've started giving myself a nice foot massage with sesame oil before going to sleep. I've also been attending Ayurvedic workshops at my local yoga studio. I've been getting into essential oils, and I've had all of my friends and family take the Ayurvedic dosha quiz. And the final episode of the year that I want to recap is 5 days of learning new skills. I've become fully obsessed with my Fender ukulele. Here's my uke. Pass. Please. I think that's right. I pick it up almost every night and either play new songs or write new songs. I love YouTube so much. That's all we have time for, thank you. And I think I've become pretty good at strumming compared to how I was initially. My fingers hurt when I strum like this, so maybe I won't strum like that anymore. Right now I'm almost bleeding on this finger. It hurts. Next, making my own SCOBY for kombucha opened my eyes to probiotics and gut health So much so that I actually made an entire episode of Try Living with Lucie about gut health, and this should be coming out soon. The thing about this episode that really shocked me was how quickly you can pick up on a new skill just by practicing and sticking to it.
I'm getting close.
See ya!
And I'm very excited because I even have a few more classes on my calendar for the end of this year, including a drumming class, a sushi making class, and an origami class. So overall, I'd say 2018 was a pretty great year. I'd love to know what challenges you want to see me try in 2019, and I would encourage you all to follow along with my personal life on my Instagram at LucieBFink, and also on my personal YouTube channel, which is just youtube.com/LucieBFink. There's one more new episode coming for you next week, and then we'll see you next year. Love you, bye! Hey YouTube, thanks for watching. Click here for one of my 5-day challenge episodes, here to subscribe to Refinery29 on YouTube, and right here for my personal YouTube channel. Love you.